Hello there guys, it's me Kids Bowman and welcome back to my channel and thank you for joining me on this brand new video of book reading series. It's also known as Read Aloud stories. I really appreciate all for your such amazing support to my channel to keep my creativity growing and enhance my performance. So, first of all, I'm going to do another read aloud for you guys since I had done reading most of the children's books, including Paddington by Micheal Bond. First of all, I'll show a book I've got. I'll go read to you. So, I've got Micheal Bond, Paddington Goes for Gold. It was illustrated by R.W Alley. This book cover looks so very delightful and very beautifully illustrated cover. Ladies and gentlemen, would you care to join me for story time? Excellent. You finally came to the right place. What I intend to do, I've got to read by words each page, and also I will show you some beautifully illustrated pictures from each page. So, shall we begin the story time? Sit back, relax, enjoy. One morning, Paddington was lingering by the Brown's front door at number 32 Windsor Gardens in case the postcard arrived from his Aunt Lucy in Peru, when to his surprise a leaflet came through the letterbox and landed on his nose. Paddington didn't normally take much notice of leaflets, and he was about to throw it in the nearest waste bin. The words "free entry" and "prizes" caught his eye. It sounded much more interesting than usual, so he decided to show the leaflet to Mr. Brown when he came home from work that evening. "It's from a local sports club," explained Mr. Brown over dinner that night. "They are holding a fundraising event tomorrow. There's something for everyone and private prizes galore. That's even a knitting competition," announced Paddington, for Mrs. Brown's benefit. The Brown's housekeeper gave a non-committal grunt. "Let's go, Dad," chorused Jonathan and Judy. "It sounds fun." "Well," began Mr. Brown. "It was picturing a round of golf." "I'll iron your shorts, Henry," said Mr. Brown. That could do with airing." "If they still fit me," said Mr. Brown gloomily. The Browns set off in the high sprints early the next day, but it was short-lived. As they entered the sports ground, the first person they bumped into was Mr. Curry. The next-door neighbour could put a damper on everything. Worse still, he was making a beeline for Paddington. "I suppose it had to happen," murmured Mr. Brown. "That leaflet must have gone to all the houses in the area." "Hold this ball for the moment, Bear," boomed Mr. Curry, thrusting a round object into the Paddington's paws. Mr. Curry roared with laughter as Paddington staggered backwards. "Caught you out for once, Bear," he chuckled. "It's made of lead and it's used for what's called putting a shot. You're supposed to throw it as hard as you can." Mrs. Bird took the thumb grip of her handbag, but she had no need of it, for Mr. Curry suddenly gave the roar of pain. "Bear," he bellowed, hopping on one leg, "what do you think you're doing?" "You said I was supposed to throw it," exclaimed Paddington. "I'm afraid I didn't go very well." "Fair enough. To land on my foot, I don't forget things in a hurry," cried Mr. Curry. My price is fair, I'm afraid, called the steward, joining the group. Anyone for the three-legged race? You had better hurry. It's about to start. Jonathan and Judy made a dash through it, closely followed by Paddington, only too anxious to escape Mr. Curry's wrath. But you've got 4 legs between you, Paddington hissed. 2 and 2 makes 4. Don't worry. Judy removed her ribbon. If we tie 2 of them together, that makes them 3. Leave it to me, said Paddington. Bears are good at knots. Ready? Called the starter. Steady, go. Jonathan tore off straight away, but Judy was unable to move. Oh dear, said Paddington. I think I must have tied a wrong 2 legs together by mistake. No prizes fair either, I'm afraid, said the steward. He turned to Mr. Brown. Shall I put you down for the 100 meters hurdles? Actually, said Mr. Brown, I rather fancy the slow cycle race. I used to be a dab hand at it when I was a boy. And for knitting competition, said Mrs. Brown, I've brought my own needles. Good, said the steward. He turned to Mrs. Brown and, you dear lady, I want to keep an eye off my husband, said Mrs. Brown firmly. Paddington found it hard to see what was going on when he joined the crowd and the start of the race, but he pricked up his ears when he heard Mrs. Brown say she was worried Mr. Brown might fall off his bicycle. He's going ever so slowly, agreed Judy. Leave it to me, everybody, called Paddington, and he ran on to the track as fast as he could. Don't worry, Mr. Brown, he called. I'm here. Grasping the bicycle saddle with both paws, he pushed with all his might, and Mr. Brown sailed back past all the other contestants in a flash. Wherever do you do that? Cried Mr. Brown. The last one passed the tape. It's first in a slow bicycle race. I could have been a contender. I'm sorry, Mr. Brown, gasped Paddington. I thought it was a funny name for the race, but it didn't have them in darkest Peru. Don't worry, Dad, called Jonathan from a nearby tent. Wait until you see Mrs. Brown's knitting. She's on a track winning streak. Look at her needles, agreed Judy. They are going like windmills. I hope she didn't do herself a mischief. I expect she could do with a marmalade sandwich, said Paddington. I brought some specially. Don't stop, Mr. Bird, he called. I'm coming. The Brown's housekeeper had her hands full, so he popped a sandwich into her open mouth. Mrs. Bird gave a goggle, but she didn't slow down. That's torn it, said Judy. If Mrs. Bird gets marmalade all over her needles, she won't be pleased. It's probably against the rules to feed competitors, said Mr. Brown. Jonathan gave a groan. What's Paddington up to now? He said. I found some more wool if you run out, Mrs. Bird, called Paddington. Grr, grr, spluttered Mrs. Bird, shaking her head finally. Grr, grr. Paddington set to work. He had his back to Mrs. Bird, so he didn't notice that as he wound the wool into the ball, her piece of knitting grew smaller and smaller. Grr, said Mrs. Brown. Grr, grr. How on earth did he manage to do that? Asked Mr. Brown. Didn't even ask, Henry, replied Mrs. Brown. Bang goes on her last chance of a prize, groaned Judy. We can't give up now, said Jonathan. They are getting ready for the relay race. Who's for making up the foursome? Paddington's paw shot up. Judy raised her hand, and after a moment Mr. Brown joined them. In for the penny, in for the pound, he said. Judy made the first circuit of a track. Before passing the baton to Jonathan, who in turn passed it to Paddington. Whatever you do, gasped. Don't drop it. Mrs. Brown was ready and waiting as a familiar figure rounded a bend. Where is it? Where is it? He cried, as Paddington drew alongside him. The baton, where is it? I don't know, Mr. Brown, gasped Paddington. I had it when I left. You had it when you left, repeated Mr. Brown. What do you mean? You had it when you left. Paddington did his best to think of another way of saying it. Jonathan told me not to drop it, he said, so I put it somewhere for safekeeping. I don't believe it, groaned Mr. Brown. As the race came to the end, everybody cheered and began to wave their hats in the air. So Paddington joined in. There it is, cried Mrs. Bird, pointing at Paddington's hat. It was under his hat all the time. I remember now, said Paddington. Don't be cross, Henry, said Mrs. Brown. It isn't as tough for it dropped it. Cross, repeated Mr. Brown. Have you seen it? I'm thankful he didn't give it to me. It's covered in marmalade. Ugh, I think it's time we went home. As the Browns were leaving, a man on the gate handed Paddington an envelope. It's a small thank you, he said. You are the very first bear contestant, and you seem to have brought us luck. Visitors have been flooding in. The envelope contained a medal made of gold foil, and it had a ribbon attached so Paddington could hang it around his neck. There was some writing across the front, but he was too excited to read it. I think he announced. I shall show it to Mr. Curry. It might make his leg better. Mr. Curry doesn't deserve it, began Mr. Bird, but Paddington was already on his way, and by the time they caught up with him, all they heard was cry of a bear, followed by a loud bang. Whatever happened? Asked Judy, as Paddington reappeared. Well, said Paddington, when I showed Mr. Curry my medal, he started hopping about on one leg, but it was the wrong one, and when I mentioned it, he slammed the door on my face. It's a pity you didn't mention the words on the front of the medal, said Mr. Brown. Winning isn't everything. Taking part and doing your best is what matters most. I would rather someone else did that, said Paddington brightly. I don't think Mr. Curry likes my mentions. After you, Henry, said Mrs. Brown, amid laughter all round. Boys and girls, to conclude this story of Paddington Goes for Gold. So, please write comments down below if you enjoy this video. What do you think of the story of Paddington Goes for Gold? So, I think this Paddington story is being published in 1950s, about over 60 years since the first book was published. it can bring a story time to a reading experience to life, which it seems perfect for the new generations of children and families to enjoy the classic British children's book Paddington. As many of you have seen, first three live action movies, Paddington. That was a really good film, and it's just great for a family to enjoy. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the story of Paddington Goes for Gold, written by Micheal Bond. I hope you see you soon, and thank you so much for stopping by.